Hello to all. Today we are going to discuss about a very important topic, and that is known as the pollination. And very first you must know that this process of pollination occur in which category of plants. So there are two categories of the plants named as the gymnosperms and the angiosperms, in which the act of the pollination occur. No other plants show the phenomenon of the pollination. Now when we are discussing about the pollination, it's a very important topic. You must know that what is pollination and what are the types of the pollination. So the very first definition is process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of same flower or different flower but of same species found on same plant or different plant is called as the pollination. Okay, you can see by the diagrams also. I am repeating once again, process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the same flower. You can see this diagram. Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of same flower or different flower you can see different flower present on same plant or two different plants but of same species is called as the pollination. So what is pollination? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower or different flower present on same plant or two different plants but of same species is called as the pollination. Now, to study the pollination in details, we must know that how many types of pollinations are there. So altogether, pollination is divided into three parts. Okay, the very first part is the self-pollination. The second one is known as the geitonogamy, and the third one is known as the cross-pollination. Okay, now first one is self-pollination. Self-pollination is also called as the autogamy. Now, self-pollination is the most common mode of the pollination. Now, what is self-pollination or what is autogamy? When pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma of same flower. When pollen grains are transferred from anther to stigma of same flower, then such a pollination is called as the self-pollination. And it is clear from the definition that generally the self-pollination will occur in a bisexual flower, because in a bisexual flower both male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ are present. So the transfer will be very much easier. That is, the pollen grains released out from the anther will be dusted on the stigma of the same flower. Then what happens? Self-pollination occur. Because this pollination act is happening in the same flower, it is called as the autogamy. And such type of the self-pollination can be seen in bisexual flowers such as pea, though in the case of the pea, by emasculation and bagging we can perform the cross-pollination, but in natural it is a bisexual flower. So in pea, wheat, potato and groundnut, self-pollination occur. Now the very important one, that is known as the geitonogamy. Many people are having the confusion that whether the geitonogamy should be studied in self-pollination or cross-pollination. So there is a debate about this. Okay, so you must know that it is treated as a self-pollination or it is treated as a cross-pollination. Now what is geitonogamy? You can see the diagram. I have made one plant and I have made two flowers, and the transfer of the pollen grain is happening between the flowers, two different flowers which are present on the same plant. Okay, so transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of another flower of the same plant. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of another flower on the same plant. Means plant is one, flowers are two. One is male flower, another is female flower. From the male flower, the pollen grains are destined to the stigma of the female flower. Then such a type of pollination is called as the geitonogamy. Now, genetically, always remember, genetically, we treat geitonogamy equivalent to the self-pollination. Why? Because all the flowers which are present on the same plant are genetically identical. That's why geitonogamy genetically is treated as a self-pollination. But functionally, or we can say it ecologically, functionally or ecologically, it is cross-pollination. It is not treated as self-pollination functionally and ecologically. It can be treated as self-pollination only on the genetic point of view, genetically. The best examples are maize, coconut, castor and cucurbits. All these plants are monoecious plants. All these plants are monoecious plants. What are monoecious plants? When male and female flowers are present on the same plant, then it is called as a monoecious plant. Okay, so maize, coconut, castor and cucurbits. Okay, all these show geitonogamy. Now, the next one is cross-pollination. It is also a very common mode of pollination. It is also called as allogamy. It is also called as genogamy. So you can use two terms more for the cross-pollination. One is the genogamy and another is the allogamy. Now here what is the case? I have made two plants. One is having male flower, another is having the female flower, right? And such plants are called as dioecious plant. Such plants are called as dioecious plants. Okay, now see here, when pollination takes place between two different flowers of two different plants, but these plants must be of same species, then it is called as a cross-pollination. When pollination takes place between two different flowers of two different plants but of same species, it is called as the cross-pollination or the allogamy or the genogamy. Now, this one is treated as a true cross-pollination. It was not truly the cross-pollination, okay, but this is a true cross-pollination. Genetically as well as ecologically, it is a cross-pollination, and the best example of the cross-pollination are that it occurs in the dioecious plants, say for the papaya and the date palm are very good examples to explain the phenomenon of the cross-pollination. So this was the part 1 of the pollination and its type, okay, and in the coming time we'll be including some more videos on the pollination. So keep watching. Thanks a lot.